Thank you, Eric. That's a perfect intro to our favorite little gecko down in Nevada, who you can see is looking forward. Because blue sky, greenfield exploration, that's what we do. We do look forward. Please read our corporate presentation on UBS for our forward-looking statements. I guess if we lived in a glass earth, we could just look down and get the medal and go home, but it's not like that. So really, this gecko is representing very much what we do. Okay, in the 10 minutes here, I thought I'd just try and give you more of a narrative on the 3 projects that we're working on. I'm not going to regurgitate all the corporate presentation information that's in our slide deck. You can come to the booth or read it. As Eric said, I am working on projects that I think could make a difference in the copper space. They are blue sky, and you're right, there aren't a lot of people doing this. We built the company on Bonita down in Nevada. We're currently working on an epithermal gold project in the Walker Lane. And I'm probably standing here because of this Roanoke IOCG target in Ontario. So instead of giving you the standard corporate slides that you're welcome to look at in the presentation, I just want to leave you with some images of what we're trying to do this year to change the company and change the copper space. At Bonita, this Chevy has been sitting there, I guess, since the early 50s. The family that owned that Chevy has owned that property for almost 100 years. They're looking at iron on surface. And because that property is owned, when the porphyry boom rolls through Nevada and the western U.S., Phelps Dodge, Kennecott, and so on, this is not looked at in the modern context of porphyry copper. It's never been explored. And therefore, VR has the opportunity to take new ideas and new context and new technologies, because this company finally did give this up in 2001. What makes the iron interesting, that company was interested in iron during the war era, is that Chevy is sitting right here. That iron is not just incidental iron, it's iron related to an early Jurassic alkaline porphyry copper system that has a footprint of about 5 by 7 kilometers. You're about 200 kilometers from Yarrington. The footprint at Yarrington is exactly the same. The rocks are exactly the same age at about 165 million years old. There are 4 copper deposits at Yarrington that have probably 20 to 25 billion pounds of copper. They don't have gold. They're about 0.4%. Anaconda mined the first one, left the rest in the ground. Bonita has a footprint that gives you the potential to realize that although the iron here is interesting, what's more interesting is iron associated to an alkaline porphyry like Mount Milligan or Lorraine or Copper Mountain up here in BC, and that your opportunity to step up the hill from that Chevy and look at the idea that there's a buried alkaline porphyry stock feeding those surface iron showings is the first step in finding not just a new porphyry intersection, but a new porphyry camp akin to Yarrington or akin to Highland Valley. That's what we're trying to do. I'd like to get back to Copper Queen this year and finish the first pass drilling that we started. While we were working on Bonita, we got into Big Ten. This kind of plays into what Quentin was talking about. This is the famous Walker Lane. Tertiary extension, tertiary volcanism. These are volcanic centers. Comstock's incredible. I mean, in 1850, 200 million ounces of silver, 8 million ounces of gold mined essentially by hand in 17 years, related to hot potassium-bearing fluids, related to tertiary volcanism, related to tertiary extension. The modern example is Round Mountain, 18 million ounces in a single epithermal deposit. Core asset for Kinross, I believe it's the largest heap leach deposit in the world. The deposits are not the same, but they are the same general setting and framework. One of the things they have in common, if there's any epithermal gold geologists in the room, this is the slide they will remember. Incredible, this is a tuffosite. This is a hybrid between a volcanic and a hydrothermal rock. It's stained with cobalty nitrate. The yellow is high temperature potassium. It's banded silicon potassium, later veins still with potassium. This is how you get a Comstock or a Round Mountain. It is fluid after fluid after fluid that is high temperature and carrying gold. That is from Big Ten, and it's not on the top of the hill where people were scratching around in this alteration cap in the late 70s, finding gold in the alteration cap. That adularia is the basis for that 2 by 3 kilometer potassium airborne footprint. Like Bonita, VR can go here and look at our understanding of Round Mountain and Comstock today and have things like 3D-IP, ICP-MS geochemistry, and in-field mineral chemistry from Wavelength. To understand, really the question is not, is there gold in the system? It's where is the sweet spot? And as it turns out, it's down the hill. It hasn't been explored. It's under the trees, but if you look at high temperature muscovite, lead geochemistry, chargeability, if that rock is giving you a hint at a Round Mountain type of concentration of gold in that footprint, it's down here. So I'm hopeful that our company will have the opportunity to do the first drilling of the Amsel target later this year. Okay, I've got 4 minutes to talk about really, I think, why I'm standing at this microphone, which is this iron oxide hydrothermal breccia from Northern Ontario. It's a boulder. It's 45% iron. It's probably 70% specularite. The only other mineral is pyrite. Look at the resorbed grain boundaries. I don't know what that rock was, but it was dissolved. It was very high temperature, and it's now essentially iron. Why do I care about that rock? OGS Geochem Survey, 2001, post-BRIEX. This is a typical incentive program. You're going over the Superior. There are some world-famous Archean VMS camps and world-famous Proterozoic orogenic gold, like we heard from Chris. The most robust copper-gold anomaly is sitting up underneath this Paleozoic cover. And there's 4 streams with more than 80 samples with chalcopyrite grains. Why do I care about that? The gold and the copper is associated with fluorite. The fluorite in many ways is just as strong as the copper and gold in this anomaly. Olympic Dam is the greatest copper-gold deposit ever discovered. The numbers that we know about are 10 billion tons at almost 1% copper, contain gold of 100 million ounces. What we forget about Olympic Dam sometimes is this. It's estimated to be 2.5% weight fluorite. And the fluorite does 2 things for you. You can carry metal in fluorine complexes. You can also generate hydrofluoric acid. And if you want to make a rock like this, hydrofluoric acid is a good way to do it. That geochem anomaly is coming from these streams. The Ontario government was looking for coal in 1980 and found chalcopyrite grains in the dirt. They found enough gold grains in this river to think about identifying a placer gold volume. Where are those copper and gold grains coming from? Are they just really a more zoomed in example of the OGS? You see how the rivers are deflecting off this uplift? That's what VR thinks this thing could be coming from. That uplift is that magnetic anomaly. It's an airborne survey that we flew last summer. It's about 12 kilometers. That's 1,000 nanotesla. It's 2.5 kilometers in diameter. It has an alteration halo that looks like a magnetic pipe. That is what is causing that geomorphologic uplift. I don't know what Renoke is. What I know is that it's strong enough that it's actually deflecting rivers. Overlapping that magnetic anomaly is a 4-kilometer, 2.5 milligal gravity anomaly from an airborne survey this summer. This would be an example of, if you had this idea 30 years ago, you can't fly this survey. This technology doesn't exist. It's one of the ways that we can look at old data, take in a new technology, and try and do something new with it. I can't explain to you as a geologist 2.5 milligal anomaly. You just don't see those. We expect to work with a 0.5 milligal. One of the ways you could do that is with a rock like this. That kind of iron concentration is a good way to get that kind of gravity anomaly. That's Carapatina, tech discovery in 2005. 1.5 kilometer pipe, 2.5 milligal anomaly, and honestly, some of the most amazing copper intersections ever drilled. This ties in a little bit to Quinton. These systems are high temperature. They can precipitate copper over great depths. And look at the scale of this, whoops, I'm sorry. Look at the scale of that pipe compared to the dimensions of the gravity and the mag at Roanoke. VR started a drill program in November. We're simply wanting to walk across this system from the IP into the gravity which we are targeting for breccia and into this magnetic pipe. What did we see in that hole? Specularite, iron oxide, and pyrite veins coming into the orthogneiss. The what if is, what if those veins that we see right here are coming off the large body of iron oxide that are represented by that gravity high? A better example, a couple of meters where your orthogneiss is not just veined, is completely digested. It's high temperature potassium, and this is just straight iron. You're on the margin of the system. The what if for VR in a couple of weeks is to get that drill into the heart of the gravity peak. The what if of, is that magnetic destruction actually magnetite to hematite in an IOCG system? And just to finish, talking to Jay yesterday about inflation in our business, especially in early stage, and because I'm probably the oldest guy on this panel, one of the challenges in our business is watching how expensive our business has become. And one of the keys for success in our business is ask yourself the question, does the target that I'm looking for justify the $400 per line kilometer for that airborne gravity survey? I have watched my business basically triple in cost over 20 years. And I would say the same thing for CapEx, and I'd say the same thing for mining production. It's critical that in the world where all exploration is expensive, is what is the value of the prize that you're looking at? And to understand the dimensions on this gravity high and mag low on that magnetic pipe as a what if for the copper and gold in the dirt and the copper and gold in the rivers as an IOCG pipe, if you understand the value of Carapatina, is why this is worth it. And it's why we're going to go and spend a bunch of money and get into the middle of this system. Thank you.